Hey everyone, Joe here. Welcome back to another video. This one is going to be a bit different, quite a bit different actually, from the normal videos you see on this channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a kind of top 6 list. Not top 10 because there isn't 10 of this yet. But recently, a couple of days ago, in Japan, the XYZ anime will finish in Japan for Pokemon, and I've been watching it a lot, along with pretty much every other season, and I figured it would be a cool idea if I gave my top 6 regions, I guess, from the anime, and gave my reasons why, and a little overview of the season of why I liked it, and everything like that. So yeah, hope you guys are going to enjoy this. So we're going to start off right at the bottom at number 6, and some of you who know me will know this already, but number 6 is Unova, which was the Black and White Saga. The reasoning I have behind this is because I hated it. The games, I haven't actually played too much of the games either. They just didn't get me as much, but for what I've played, I have enjoyed them. The anime, however, I didn't like. Just, the show never caught me. I still watched most of the episodes, maybe all of them I can't remember, but I can't remember like anything noteworthy. The evil team, or whatever you call them, weren't exactly that great during the season, in my opinion. One thing I did like is that they brought Ash's Charizard back. By the way, this is going to contain spoilers if you couldn't tell. I did like that they brought Ash's Charizard back at one point or so during the season as a kind of throwback. That was kind of cool. The main problems I had with this were the companions and the league. So I'll go over the companions first. Now, Ash had 2 companions during this season. They were Iris was that name? Iris and Salon. I think that's his name. You can see how much I care about this series. Iris wasn't too bad. She was kind of annoying in some cases, but she wasn't the worst character ever. That goes to Salon, in my opinion. Salon is what made this series very annoying for me. Every single time that he would say some line, it didn't have to be anything relating to the plot. It would just any line. He would always reference or make a pun about food, like cooking or just some food in general. Like, it's ridiculous, and it bothered me. He was basically like a very annoying Brock, except Brock is actually awesome. But just Salon really annoyed me throughout the whole season. I don't remember anything to do with him that was remotely useful, other than that he was the first gym leader. I guess it's kind of cool that they kind of brought back what they did for Season 1, where they made the first gym leader come along with him, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter at this point, just because his puns just got on my nerves, because they kept happening every episode, and it bothered me. And the main factor in why this is so low is because of the league, the Unova League, at the end of the series. So why was the Unova League so low down on my list? Well, because Ash's performance was absolute trash. If you don't know what happened, let's just say I think he had 2 or 3 battles, which is his worst, and I think he made it to the top 32 or top 16. I can't remember which. But either way, he went out in, I think it was the same time he went out in Season 1, except in that one he had a lot more matches than he had in this one. So his first battle was against his rival in that region. Oh, by the way, that's another thing which I'll get to later about this region. It was against his rival in this season, whose name was Trip, I think. And it was a one-on-one battle. Okay, so the first round is a one-on-one battle. Fair enough. I think we've seen that in Johto and Hoenn as well, so that's fine. The problem is his first battle is against his rival, and that annoyed me, because he's had this rival for the entire season, building up to it and such, and then we have this great big with this battle which we're all hyped for, and it's just a one-on-one fight in which Ash wins. So within the first round of the tournament, within like one episode, Trip, his rival, is already out of the tournament. But that isn't even the worst part. The worst part is how Ash lost this tournament. Ash lost this tournament due to the fact that, well, he was doing okay, his team wasn't too bad, but he lost to a guy who only brought 5 Pokemon with him to the league. He forgot that you needed 6 and instead only brought 5, and Ash still lost. He also lost because, out of nowhere, the other guy's Riolu just decided to evolve in the middle of the fight, and then, yeah, Ash lost. 5v6 and he lost. After everything we saw in Sinnoh and Hoenn and even Johto as well, we came down, it came to this, like, that's how he lost. It's very saddening, to be quite honest, and it frustrated me. I was like, really? This is how this series ends? And one thing which I know some of you will probably want me to include on this is the very first battle of Unova. Ever heard of this annoying part where Ash, you know how Ash has a Pikachu, he's had it since the very first episode. Then please explain to me how in the first ever battle it lost to a starter Snivy, which was assuming if we bring levels into this level 5. But even so, Trip, who had the Snivy, was a completely brand new trainer. Ash, who has been to now 4 regions, this being, and the Battle Frontier and the Orange Islands, lost this battle. Okay, sure, Pikachu was ill and wasn't able to use electric attacks, but still he should be able to use up a strategy that would be able to use like Quick Attack or Iron Tail to be able to take it out, but nope. The Snivy was victorious. Even disregarding levels, this is really silly, and the fact that this was the first battle, it just was sad. I personally did not like Unova at all, in my opinion. It's my least favourite. On the plus side though, the other 5 regions were all very good, in my opinion. It's just some were better than others, and I'll get on to the number 5 now. And here at number 5 is Sinnoh. So, Sinnoh was a region I loved towards the end, but the beginning is why it's so low. So the beginning for Sinnoh, in my opinion, wasn't the greatest. I just wasn't a massive fan of it. It didn't catch me on as much as the older series did. It just wasn't the greatest in my opinion. However, as the series went on, it got a lot better. So the gym battles weren't too bad. I loved the rivalry between Ash and Paul as well. Paul was his rival, and he's like a rude douchebag who basically only cares about power and becoming the best. Like he's basically a discount Gary, except more of a dick. And yeah, I love the rivalry between those two. It was nice to see them compete in the league, and the league is why this is so high, except the last battle, but I'll get to that in a second. So the league was good because Ash brought back pretty much every single old companion he had ever brought back. He brought back like his Snorlax, his Quilava, which was a Cyndaquil. What else? He brought back the Totodile, Glalie. He brought back a lot of old Kanto. I think he brought back some Kanto, can't remember off the top of my head. But I know he definitely brought back some Johto and Hoenn Pokemon to this league, and that was amazing to me. Like it was so nice to see all these old Pokemon of his getting some screen time in the anime again. It was really awesome throughout the league. And the battle between Ash and Paul is, to me, still the most epic battle in the game, in the anime ever. Like, that's just my personal opinion. The Ash v Paul battle in Sinnoh was my favourite, by far. It was just so epic, and I couldn't call it, because Ash does normally go out around the top 8, so the fact that he ended up to winning that and getting to the top 4 at this point was amazing to me. It's like, this is the first time he's ever made it to the semi-finals, and yeah. However, it was the semi-finals where the season started to go down a little more, in my opinion, and it's one of the reasons why it's so low on the list. So in the semi-finals, Ash was faced up against a guy called Tobias. Tobias had been using a Darkrai throughout the entire league, sweeping every single person in the league with just his Darkrai, not using any other Pokemon. And yeah, let's just say this is the guy Ash loses to. So the fact that he was even allowed to use the legendary, and the fact that it swept almost the entirety of Ash's team, and there's a Discord message which I need to close Discord. One moment. There we go. But the fact that he was, the fact that this is how Ash lost really annoyed me because it was such an obvious loss. After he lost his first like 3 Pokemon, it was just, yeah, there's no way Ash is going to win this, because if Tobias has 1 Darkrai, chances are he's going to have more legendaries, and what do you know, he did. By the 4th Pokemon Ash had, which was his Sceptile, he did manage to defeat the Darkrai. By the way, Ash was the only person to ever defeat the Darkrai, ever, even in the final. And yeah, then Tobias sent out a Latios, which then swept the rest of his team. It did do a double KO with Pikachu at the end, but even still, he still had 4 Pokemon left, and considering we just went from, in my opinion, the most epic battle in the Pokemon anime to this, it was a really saddening blow to me. And that, along with the start of the anime not really catching on to me as much as the rest of it did, is the reason Sinnoh is so low on this list, in my opinion. Also, like, I did like the characters in this one. Dawn wasn't too bad. Her contest kind of bored me a little, but she wasn't too bad. And Brock was there, and whenever Brock's there, you know it's going to be a good season. So yeah, that's it for Sinnoh. Next we'll have Hoenn, which is my number 4 slot. And yeah, so Hoenn is my number 4 one. The reason Hoenn is so low is just because, in my opinion, the other 3 were better. Hoenn was cool. I did like Hoenn. It had Brock in it as well, which is why it was so good. But I need to stop going on about Brock. But yeah, Hoenn was pretty cool. It was the first time we got introduced to new side characters, because we just had Misty go away. Finally, well not finally, in Johto, and all of a sudden, now we have like these new characters. It took me a while to get used to them. May was pretty awesome. I loved her contest. Like, her contests were actually really intense and really interesting. Dawn's and Sinnoh's were just not that interesting to me. But I did like May's contest. May's contests were pretty awesome. Max, who was a little brother, was kind of annoying as hell. Mainly at the start, because at the start he was just a complete dick to Ash, saying that Ash really wasn't the greatest trainer ever, and that really annoyed me, because honestly, I think Ash didn't do too bad in the regions before this. Kanto he did alright, considering this was his first time competing in a league, and he took out some fan favourites apparently, and in Johto he got to the top 8, which is pretty awesome. And he won the Orange Islands League, so yeah, I don't think Max did anything to complain about here. Max just really annoyed me, and he kind of continued to be this kind of nerdy dick throughout the rest of the season, which wasn't the greatest. One thing I do like about Hoenn that put it above Sinnoh is because it had something called the Battle Frontier, which was a lot of people's favourite series. I'm not counting that as part of this. 1, because it's in Kanto, and 2, because it's in the Hoenn or Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald Saga all together, so that's why it's being included in this. And just Hoenn, and just the Battle Frontier was pretty cool. It brought back a lot of Ash's old Pokemon as well. For example, in the final Frontier, Ash used his Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Pikachu, and Charizard in the battle, which was pretty awesome. It was so cool to see all those guys back again. And it was just really nice to get like a kind of second part to all these characters. It kind of tied up some loose ends. It also made May be able to compete in some more contests in the Kanto region as well, which is pretty awesome. And just overall, I did enjoy the Hoenn region a lot. Another small thing that makes Hoenn a little better than Unova is the league. The reason the league was so good in Hoenn, to me, was because of the amount of 6-on-6 battles. In all the other regions, the 6-on-6 battles didn't start until the top 8. In this, the 6-on-6 battles actually started in the top 32, which was why I liked it so much, because 6-on-6 battles are my favourite. For example, Ash started off in the top 32 facing up against a person, I don't remember her name, but he faced up against a girl it was a 6-on-6 battle, and it was a really cool battle. She had a wall rain and some other stuff, and that was a really cool battle. I personally quite liked that a lot. Then he faced up against his rival Morrison in the top 16, which was again another 6-on-6 battle. And then he faced up against I think his name is Tyson in the top 8, which was pretty awesome. And then he lost to that. Just the amount of 6-on-6 battles in Hoenn, it was really awesome to me. It was a minor thing, but it just really made the season a lot better for me and a lot more enjoyable. And that's why Hoenn is at number 4. So number 3 is Kanto. Kanto it's the original. You can do some nicky picky thing with the original because it was the original. There was obviously going to be some animation errors or just some errors in general and some things that didn't make any gosh darn sense. But the Kanto region is so high just because it has a lot of nostalgia for me, and also because it's what pretty much everyone grew up with. It's the first series most people watched, and it's where the journey with Ash began, and of course meeting the 3 main characters, Misty, Ash and Brock, and the introduction to Team Rocket as well, who by the way are still following them around to this day. Apparently they're also bringing Team Rocket, I don't know if this is true, they may bring them to Sun and Moon as well, which will be interesting. But anyway, that's way in the future. Kanto was pretty awesome. The reason this ranks lower than Johto and Kalos is due to the way it ends. There's a couple of things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the League. The League was pretty awesome for Ash, considering he was a first-time up-and-coming trainer, with the exception of Misty and Brock helping him throughout the first 3 rounds of the qualifying. Ash was actually pretty good. He managed to take out pretty much some fan favourites in the competition and make it to the top 16. And he even managed to outlast Gary, his rival, in the tournament as well. I think Gary made it to the top. I think he made it to the top 32, and Ash made it to the top 16, which is pretty awesome. The way he lost, though, very annoyed me and was kind of silly. So he was facing up against his rival, his second rival of the region, Richie, who was kind of like Ash. He had a Pikachu and some of the same members as him. But it was the final battle. It was Richie's Pikachu against Ash's Charizard, and at this point Ash's Charizard was lazy, annoying, and just didn't listen to Ash at all. And that's what cost him the match. Charizard went to sleep in the middle of the battle on purpose and just decided, this Pikachu isn't worth my time to fight, I'm quitting. And because of that, that's what caused Ash to lose. Ash basically had forfeited at that point because he couldn't do anything. His Charizard had just given up because it just wasn't worth his time fighting Pikachu. And so Ash lost. So that was a kind of sour ending. However, his performance in the League in general, and just all the small storylines and the nostalgia and getting introduced to all the characters, it was just really awesome to me. One other slight thing that annoyed me about the season is the final episode. I think it was called Palette Party Panic, where his Pidgeotto evolved into Pidgeot, and he said that he would one day come back for it in Viridian Forest. By the way, it's still been about how many seasons, 20 or so, and he still hasn't come back for it. It makes me sad because I really like Pidgeotto, and I wish it got more screen time. That's another thing that made the move kind of sad. The Pidgeotto never got much screen time, and when it finally evolved and did something amazing, Ash just released it and we'll never see it again. But yeah, that's it for Kanto. So, number 2, Johto. Johto was amazing to me. It had a few things I liked about it. Was the goodbyes at the end, because Ash was saying goodbye to Brock and Misty for after I think about 7 seasons of the show, and through Kanto, Orange Islands, and now Johto. We've now said goodbye to these 2 characters that we love so much, and they did it quite well. I think they tied up some loose ends. I think they may have thrown some flashbacks. I can't remember officially, and it was just a really nice way to end it off, in my opinion. The Johto League as well was also very good. I'm basing most of these off the League because the League is kind of like the climaxing thing. But Johto, the League was pretty cool. One of the main reasons for this is his battle against Gary. Finally, after several seasons of the show, we finally get the battle between Ash and his rival Gary after all this time. A full 6-on-6 battle. Although there were some bullshit moments, for example his Ash's Heracross surviving a full-on Fire Blast Flamethrower combination from a Magmar. Except that bullshit part, everything else was amazing. The 6v6 was so cool, like, I loved it. It's probably my second favourite next to the Ash versus Paul battle. It was really cool. It was so awesome to see these two finally go at it after all this time as well. It made me happy. There was also a couple of interesting storylines throughout the Johto saga as well, which was really awesome. There was a lot of parts of the legendaries as well. For example, Suicune and the legendary dogs, and Lugia as well had the return of Richie when Lugia appeared. There was also the return of Richie from the Kanto region as well, which is pretty awesome. And overall, it was just a solid season with not many terrible moments in my opinion. And it was just a really nice way to end off like the part with Ash and Brock. And it also gave us one other thing is that it gave us a nice teaser for Hoenn at the end, because Ash faced off against, I think his name was Harrison, in the final battle, and Harrison had a bunch of Pokemon from Hoenn, which obviously at this point Ash and everyone who'd watched the show at that point had never heard of. And I had like Blaziken and Kecleon and I think some other ones as well. And it was just a really interesting way to end it off. And I really liked it personally. I really liked the Johto region, and that's why it's at number 2 in my list. And finally, we get to number 1, my favourite region and series of the Pokemon anime yet, the Kalos region, the XYZ Saga, which just ended, and my god was it brilliant. There was so much stuff was done right with this series that it was just great. I'm gonna talk about the beginning first, because the beginning actually had me hooked from the beginning, like from the start. Other ones, it didn't. Other than I think Johto and Kanto, it didn't really. Maybe a bit of Hoenn, it didn't really have me hooked at the start. Kalos did. I don't know what it was about it. I think the animation was just so smooth, and just Ash in general. He seems so much more mature and adult now, and it was just really cool to me to see this. Also, the first encounter he had against the Garchomp and him on that building, it was just really epic. And to have all of that stuff at the beginning of the first episode, it was so epic. It was awesome. But that's just the start. I could go on about this all day, but I won't go on about it all day. The characters made this, were part of the reason this is so high. I'll go over the character I disliked the most first, and that's Bonnie. She annoyed me a lot at the start. I will say that. She did annoy me a lot. It took me a while to get used to her, but after a while, towards the mid-end of XYZ, I started to warm up to her a bit. She wasn't such a bad character. She was always trying to get her brother Clement, who's another character, into a relationship, saying, "Please take care of my brother for me," or something. And it was quite funny, I will admit. And yeah, she annoyed me at some points, but I warmed up to her eventually. Clement is an inventor and is the leader of one of the gyms who Lumoy's gym, I think it's called, who travelled around with Ash throughout the whole thing. And other than Salan, he was actually quite interesting. Like, Salan always made this food pun, or all these food puns, but while Clement always made these interesting contraptions, which actually did help the team out a lot. One thing that did annoy me is how random all these were. Like, he just all of a sudden came up with this. He was like, I figured we'd encounter a situation just like this. The future is now thanks to science. And all of a sudden he'd pull out a machine that was like perfectly fit for the time at hand, and it was ridiculous. Other than that, Clement was pretty awesome. He was one of my favourite characters. He also had a touching backstory. Not backstory, but he did have a touching backstory with his Luxray, but that isn't what I'm on about. He had a touching moment towards the end of XYZ against Team Flare, the evil team, which I'll get to later as well, where he had to self-destruct his machine that he built, his Clembot, which that was a really touching moment. His Clembot was a really awesome character. For it just being a machine, it did a lot. It basically saved the day and self-destructed Team Flare's base, and it was awesome. he got reconstructed a few episodes later too, which was pretty nice. It was nice to see him back, but he lost all his memories. And then there was Serena. Now, I could say a lot about Serena. I'm gonna just say the main parts. Armor shipping, however you pronounce it. The relationship between Ash and Serena. It wasn't a relationship until maybe the last episode. I don't know if you could say it. But Ash actually kind of had a girlfriend. Kind of. I say this because in major spoilers, in the final episode, which aired a couple of days ago, there was actually a kiss, kind of. It wasn't actually shown. We don't know if it was a kiss, but we know something had happened because, like, it wasn't shown on screen. We're just seeing like them really close together and Serena slowly leaning in. But like it was just you could tell something had happened because the look on Bonnie, Clement, and even Pikachu's face, they were blushing as hell and they were shocked and amazed, and it was just ridiculous. One thing I liked about Serena is that finally, after all this time, we had Misty, we had May, we had... and that is TeamSpeak. We had... who else do we have? We had... Iris, can't remember what got that name. We had Dawn. And finally, after all this time, someone actually had the guts to go up to Ash and actually do something about a relationship. Sure, all the others except maybe Misty may not have had feelings for him, but it was nice to actually see some kind of added connection. It was nice to see the fans actually getting something they wanted. So that's just the characters. Team Flare I'm going to go on about next. What a really evil group. Like, they were done very well for villains, at least. I'm going to close down TeamSpeak because that ding is getting on my nerves. And they were done really well, in my opinion. They were just awesome. They wanted to take over the world. They wanted to blow up stuff. They basically turned Lumoy City and almost the entire Kalos region into a living hell. They were trying to use the legendaries. They actually got control of two of the main legendaries, the Zygardes, to do their bidding for them, until Bonnie ended up saving the day using her close connection to one of the parts of the DNA to the Zygarde, which is you have to watch the season to make word of that. But Team Flame in general was just pretty cool. They also made a small comeback episode towards the end where one of their commanders came back for an episode and he tried to stop them, but all in all he got arrested by the police. It was nice to see the police actually doing something, by the way, about this. And also Team Rocket was kind of cool. They're respected by Giovanni at this point, which is pretty awesome. They still never catch Pikachu, but they were respected by Giovanni and stuff, and they weren't as useless as they were in other regions, so that was nice. So the final thing I'm going to go on about in Kalos is the League. Now, the League was awesome. To start with, the battles were just really cool. I think a lot of people were hyped up for the Kalos League because there was some speculation that Ash might win or that he might get very far, and he did get very far. So I'm going to go through like the last couple of battles because they're the most memorable. I believe he faced up against one of his I don't remember if he faced up against his rival or if it was Sawyer, another one of his rivals. But there was three rivals. There was Tierno, Sawyer, and Alan. I think it was either Sawyer versus I've just said his name. Tierno. Sawyer versus Tierno or Ash versus Tierno. But either way, Tierno was the first one out. Then it was Ash versus Sawyer, and Sawyer had been kind of making notes of Ash the whole time, and Ash had kind of been like his mentor or his inspiration. And also Sawyer had a Mega Sceptile, which is awesome. Just the personal reason why I like him so much. Because Sceptile is an awesome Pokemon. That battle was pretty awesome. But then the final, Ash actually made it to the final two in a league. He finally made it to the final. And everyone, more like everyone in the world for Ash was finally going to win a league. Now, he didn't. He lost at the end due to some bullshit or something. apparently his Greninja was not enough to take down his Charizard. They were both kind of Mega Evolved Pokemon. I'll get to what I mean by Greninja in a minute. But they were kind of both Mega Evolved Pokemon, and they, I don't know why, I don't know how Ash lost that, but he did. But still, it was such an epic battle, and it was such an epic way to end the season, in my opinion. And going back to the Greninja, there was a whole new storyline between Ash and his Greninja. Greninja, by the way, his first ever fully evolved water starter, which was pretty awesome. But the Greninja had this Mega Evolution kind of form in which it could turn into Ash Greninja. Basically, Ash and Greninja's souls combine, and he becomes this super amazing water ninja thing, which is pretty awesome. I keep saying pretty awesome, I should stop that. I just don't know how else to describe it, because describing things isn't something I'm particularly good at. I think I've done quite well, actually. So, for example, in the battle against Sawyer, it created a massive water shuriken and threw it at his Mega Sceptile, clinching the match, which was amazing. And in the end, Ash did have to release, well, not release, but he sent away his Greninja to go help the Zygardes protect the world, basically, from anything else that came in the way of Kalos. Because, god damn it, that thing is powerful. It is Ash's best Pokemon by far, even better than his Pikachu, Infernape, Snorlax, Sceptile, whatever you want to say. It's badass as hell. And the final thing I want to say about Kalos is the ending. The ending was brilliant. As I've already talked about the kiss between Sinnoh and Ash, so I won't go on about that. But just the flashbacks to everything they've done throughout the entire season, to every character, like Clemont, Bonnie, Ash, Serena, all, and a basic massive recap of the entire season. It was beautiful. Actually had me kind of like tear up a little inside. It was just like, for a series that you've like watched so much to finally come to its conclusion, and just, it was just awesome. And then it ended with Ash like slowly walking to his house with some music playing in the back, and it was a perfect ending. It was a perfect anime to me, perfect Pokemon anime, better than all the others by far in my opinion. And yeah, that's it. That's my overall thoughts and reviews on my top 6 anime seasons of Pokemon, and my thoughts on all of them. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you stuck this far, if you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below. Tell me what your favourite seasons are, if you agreed or disagreed with any of my choices. And if you've only just found this video because of this top 6, I do a lot of other content on my channel to do with Minecraft, Overwatch, a lot of other games, and I am hoping to do some Pokemon content in the future as well. So if you are interested in that, then please continue to stick around. But either way, thank you guys for checking out this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.